Yes.
The majority of you have a little handout with the PowerPoint. If any of you did not get one, because I think we're all out, we do have our website and our email address. You can just go on the website and we can give you the PowerPoint via email if you guys really want it.
Or if you stay after and then I can give you the information and we can communicate and get it taken care of as soon as we get back.
And then there were a couple people that were not able to attend, so the gals here at the Y are recording this session, so I think they're going to make it accessible to everybody, so then you can watch it again as many times as you want.
So we are from Pine Hill Farm. It's nice to see so many people here and a lot of familiar faces. I am Leanne and this is Lindley.
Last time it was myself and Jackie. I don't know if you guys were here for the
Better Bones?
Better Bones, yes. So Jackie is gone on a volleyball tournament, so we have to, usually I don't look this casual. I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot that we were speaking today.
And then what did you do this morning?
And then I came here to work out, and then as I walked in, I'm like, oh, we talked today. So I am still representing Pine Hill in my athletic clothes.
She texted me when she was on the treadmill. She's like, I forgot, and I'm already here. And I'm on the treadmill, and I won't have time to run home. I'm like, it's okay. I'm sure you look fine.
It makes you feeling better. We're on it.
Yeah.
So just a couple slides to tell us who we are, because we might be new to some of you. So Jackie's the oldest sister, so she's the boss, because her word goes. She's a speech pathologist. She specializes in home health and long-term care. She's also a certified holistic cannabis practitioner, and she actually lives on the farmstead. So our farm, is that the next slide, I think? I mean, you don't have to go.
Yes.
Our parents still live on the homestead, and then Jackie and her husband John and kids live right next to it, so they're basically on it. I'm Leanne. I'm a certified nurse educator. I have my PhD in nursing research, and I'm a functional medicine practitioner. And then Lindley's in occupational therapy. She's a certified holistic practitioner, a bioscan practitioner, and she's almost done to be a certified naturopath. So that's really exciting. So here at our store on Main Street across from the library, we have a market and a spa, and in the back half of the store we have our wellness spa. We have a salt room or halo therapy, so that's great. It's really great for a lot of respiratory issues, skin issues, and it's just really calming and relaxing. And then we have a sauna with red light therapy, another great, really therapeutic and really relaxing. That's what I like to use it for. We also have some massage therapists, and we have thermal imaging, and then we do foot detox baths and things like that. So the thermal imaging woman, she comes once a month. She books herself. Our massage therapist, they book themselves. So if you're interested in any of those services, we can give you their cards or their contact. And then our market is in the front half of the store. We have our whole line of health supplements. We have our CBD. We grow organic CBD on the farm and organic hemp, and then we've created our own line of products. And then we never thought we would have a brick and mortar. In fact, Jackie, I remember about, 8 or 10 years ago already, I was living in California at the time, and she called me when I was out on a walk, and she's like, we're gonna grow hemp. I'm like, don't do it. And I was just starting my PhD program at the time, so I thought, I'm gonna prove her wrong. Well, here I am, part of the business and helping and advocating for hemp. So.
And you're the one that's done all the research.
Yes, because I needed topics to do my papers on, so I'm like, I'm going to look at why hemp and CBD is not good. And I ended up doing a huge paper on how hemp can help the veteran population, and it's like, well, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny how it all goes full circle.
Yep.
But we started doing farmers markets, and then people just kept asking us more health-related questions, and once they knew more of our backgrounds and asking for a brick and mortar, and we thought, well, maybe we should do it, and we did.
And we're glad we did.
We try to have a lot of the products in the store of locally made goods or other just fun, neat. We try to be health related, but there's not all, like we do have some really cool purses.
Yeah, lots of gifty
greeting
things.
cards and stuff.
Yep. All right. I can talk about this and then you can do the next
Okay.
slide where we jump into digestive health. So one of our very popular health services is called BioScan. Many of you probably have heard of it. We try and mention it every time we do a little speaking event. But it is FDA approved because of its accuracy. It works very similar to how an EKG works. It was made by two doctors, very holistic minded, and they just wanted to get down to their patient's root cause of their issues. It has helped me personally very much. I've seen many doctors and, probably the last 12 years, and no one could really figure out what was wrong or what needed to be introduced to bring balance back into my body. And the BioScan, biofeedback, really put all the puzzle pieces together for me. So we now offer it, and it's been a game changer for a lot of people. We also do functional health services and lab testing, health consultations. We are now, mold literate certified as well, so we have lots to offer.
So let's get into gut health. So a lot of times when we think about gut health, we think about things like constipation or diarrhea, because those are like the two main symptoms that occur when, at least that's what I think of when we think of gut health. But we really have to go on a broader level. So just looking at what our digestive tract all makes up with, a lot of times we think that the mouth or chewing is the first part of the digestive tract, but really the first part starts with our thoughts, how we think about food, what we're planning on eating. That really plays a whole role into our digestive system. So I always try to think about that, like what am I planning on eating, what am I going to eat, because that will play a role in everything. So then we get it in our body, start to chew. Our body, then we send receptors or signals to our stomach and our small intestine. Digestive enzymes come from the pancreas into the stomach and really break down food and absorb nutrients. So if we have something wrong with the small intestine, then we're not absorbing nutrients like we should. And then the large intestine, the big colon here, that's where a lot of where the food changes to stool, and that's where everything comes out from. So the small intestine's here. The large intestine is actually about 6 to 7 feet long. The small intestine's about 20 feet. So it's actually pretty funny because I was in the Navy for 5 years and I thought I was going to do something really cool. And I did do a lot of cool things, but my first job was an endoscopy tech at a surgery clinic, so I helped out with colonoscopies. So we kind of joked that we were serving the country one colonoscopy at a time. So it's pretty funny. That's how I started. But if anybody's had a colonoscopy, you know that the things that are coming out of you are more stool related, whereas the everything's absorbed in the small intestine. That's where the good stuff happens.
Yep. And before we go on to the next one, you guys can see this on your slide, but for those that are listening, no, she confirmed it is not going to be mirrored and you don't have to read backwards, but everything we put in our body impacts our gut. So that's a pretty important line right there. So everything we put in and on, our skin absorbs, and that can affect not just the gut, but many other things. But so that's like the key thing there.
The pancreas, that's where, like I said, that's where the digestive enzymes come from. The liver produces bile and helps with cholesterol and estrogen, and then the gallbladder stores the bile. So there's a lot of different factors that play into digestion. So if there's something wrong with any of these, then it's going to affect the whole process.
One interesting point, which I know I'm going off here, but we have a lot of people come in and say, oh, I have heartburn really bad, or acid reflux, or I have diarrhea. One of the first questions we ask is, do you have a gallbladder? And because if you cannot, or It may not be that they don't have a gallbladder, but maybe they have a really hard time breaking down fatty foods, whether it's a good fat or bad fat. And that alone can cause acid reflux and other indigestive issues. So just kind of pointing out and confirming that, yes, even if just one organ or one part of digestion isn't working well, it can impact so many other things.
So gut health and the immune system. Did you guys know that 70 to 80% of our immune cells are located in our gut? Like, that's just shocking that we think about our immune system, but a lot of times we think of our immune system here and then we think of everything else over here. But it really all plays together, because if we're not looking at our gut, then our immune system's not going to be effective or helpful at all. So it really is the gatekeeper of our health. If we have a poor gut, we're going to have a poor immune system and poor health. Like Lindley said, everything we eat, drink, and expose ourselves are either helping us or hurting us. So that really is eye-opening when you think of even the lotions that you put on your body, or the things that we smell, or everything that we're exposed to. It all plays a role, and like Hippocrates says, all disease begins in the gut. I just completed a functional medicine program, and the number one thing we look at first is gut health. You have eczema, let's look at your gut. You have migraines, let's look at your gut. Once we get your gut balance, then we can dig a little further and go into everything else. Because if we're focusing on isolated problems or symptoms, and we're not detoxing and we're not pooping every day, we're just gonna build up, and our body's not gonna work well at all.
So we're going to start to look here in the next couple slides what attributes to poor gut health. So the first one, which you guys, most of you may not have heard of pH balance before, but it's really, really important. So if we have an imbalanced pH level, meaning we're too acidic or too alkaline, which I'll explain in a minute, that will really set off the gut health. So we want a pH balance, ideally of 6.4, or ranging between 6.3 and 6.5. So for an example, a lemon is more acidic. That is a score of 2. Egg whites are, a number 9, so that's more alkaline. So it really starts to look at food. So we have people come in and say, oh, I have diarrhea, the food moves through me pretty quick. Once I'm done eating, I'm going to the bathroom within an hour or 2. That tells us, okay, food's going through you too fast. You're not able to absorb all those good nutrients from your food. If you don't have that, you're gonna be pretty tired, most likely, because food is fuel, right? So then here, this is explaining, okay, if you're too acidic, food's gonna move through too fast, which causes malnutrition. You're most likely, over time, going to also experience heartburn, possibly heart disease, cancer, blood sugar issues, bone loss, joint pain, IBS, a lot of bowel issues, anxiety, depression, and just being more nervous. I know many of you may have been to our Better Bones speech, whatever it's called. So bone loss, the reason that is a factor with being more acidic is because your body's like, okay, we need electrolytes, we need minerals, so it starts to steal all that good stuff out of your bones to provide your body with that. So if you're too alkaline, meaning you're above 7, that means it's just opposite. It's not moving through you too quickly, your food. It's gonna be more sluggish and slow. Most people deal with constipation. When your organs, your digestive organs are very sluggish and slow, you are also more prone to pathogens, parasites, bacteria, and viruses and whatnot. Some of those symptoms over time will turn into a lot of gallbladder and liver issues, which are also involved in digestion. Constipation, like I mentioned before, you're going to reabsorb all those toxins, because if your colon, if you're not having a bowel movement every day, all that waste, toxic waste, is going to stay in your body and you reabsorb that and you don't feel good. So this last part here, we keep saying this, whatever we put in our body matters. It makes a big difference. So some people are thinking right now, oh yeah, I am constipated. So what can you do? You look at your diet on this next slide. These foods over here tend to be more alkaline, and the others tend to be more acidic. So if you're thinking, yeah, I do deal with constipation and all those other things that were listed, you want to incorporate more acidic type of foods, and then vice versa. If you're more acidic, you want to incorporate more alkaline foods. This can be kind of a controversy. I know a lot of people say, oh, we should be eating alkaline diets all day long, 100%. You may not have heard that, but you can be too alkaline, like I just mentioned. You can become, you can get constipated if you're doing that all the time and not eating a balanced diet.
And if you look at the foods, and I think on the previous slide it said eat 80% alkaline, 20% acidic foods.
Yep.
Well, if we look at popular diets or a healthy balanced diet like the Mediterranean diet or the paleo diet, that's exactly that. That's eating more of our good proteins. That's eating less of our sugars and our processed foods and things like that.
Yeah.
Do we have a question?
Yeah, on the page where it talked about the too acidic, below 6.2, what's being measured there? Is that a blood test? Or is that
Yep, that's a good question. So where did I write that? Oh, yep, right up here. So if you're wondering, are you too acidic? Are you too alkaline? There's something called a pH test. They're little strips. We sell them at the store. I think what is it called? Like a litmus strip test. So you test your saliva, and that's testing your upper digestion, meaning like your stomach. And then you test your urine. So you collect that, dip the strip in, and then you look at this little scale, and it tells you what level, what number you are. Are you 6 point something? Are you above 7? Testing your urine is tracking your lower digestion. So small intestine, colon, yeah. This could be like a whole PowerPoint in itself here, so we're trying not to spend too much time. But if you're really intrigued with this and really want to, I mean, honestly, if we can balance our pH levels, we could just stop the PowerPoint right here, because it really impacts a lot. But if you really want to learn more about that, we have a little handout that just talks about that and what you can do.
And the reason that Lindley's talking about these 2 slides is because it's still confusing to me. So that's why I'm like, you're taking over for those, because it can be deep. But the basic part of it is eating a healthy diet is really balancing your pH.
Mm-hmm.
High vegetables, low sugars, low processed foods, that will naturally get us in that range.
Yep.
So stress, how does stress impact our gut? So I'm going to actually start down here. If your body's in constant stress with high cortisol, we will not enter the rest and digest or the parasympathetic response, and we can get a lot of bad things. So cortisol is a hormone that our body produces when we're in fight or flight. So when a lion is chasing us, we're going to have a lot of stress. And our bodies were naturally made like that so that we had the energy to run and chase or outrun the lion or the tiger or bear. The problem is that when we are in constant state of stress, our cortisol stays high and we never relax. We never get into that rest and digest state. So I don't know about you guys, but if you've had traumatic experiences or times of high stress, you're not pooping every day. At least when I went through something, I'm not pooping every day. That's the last thing on my mind. So that means a lot of the stuff is staying inside me. My toxins are staying inside me. I'm not adequately hydrated. I'm not flushing out. So that's not good. So stress negatively impacts our gut because we're not releasing everything.
And that also increases that inflammation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my favorite cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but we have...
Not Las Vegas.
No.
Someone mentioned that the other day.
Not Las Vegas. So the vagus nerve is cranial nerve 10, and it runs from like the base of our ear here of our brain, and it goes all the way down our spinal cord to our tailbone. There's a ton of nerves in that area. So if our vagus nerve is impacted or is not working effectively, the downstream pathway is, we can have all of these issues working with that, including stimulating activity of the stomach, stimulating the gallbladder, stimulating the intestines, the pancreas, so the stomach. So it plays a role. The vagus nerve is really important. And also if we're in heightened states of stress, then the vagus nerve is just like clenched all the time. There's a couple things we can do to help stimulate the vagus nerve, and that can help calm and relax things, and it can actually help our gut health. And something simple would be singing or humming or sauna, cold plunges. What are
Some other, we don't have a picture, but since the cranial nerve starts behind your ear, you can massage a couple points. We have handouts on that too. That can kind of like just massage it and waken it up.
But that's something that if you feel like in a heightened stress state, maybe just singing along with the radio or humming, that just can help kind of calm and relax things. And it can help everything.
Yeah, diaphragmatic breathing, the belly breathing also is it allows you to get into that relaxing parasympathetic.
It's not going to make you go poop. If you're constipated,
Right.
that's not just going to make you go, but it's going to help calm your body down. It's going to decrease your cortisol level. It's going to help decrease some of that inflammation so that other processes can work together.
There are supplement options as well. We had a couple people say that they were really, really stressed and constipated as well. And we told them, you know what, let's take a lot of L-theanine, non-essential amino acid. It's very natural, it comes from mushrooms and green tea. But they took like 800 milligrams because they needed that much. And by the end of the day, they're like, hey, I even went poop. So it just goes to show that they were able to finally relax. And then their body was like, okay, now we can finish digesting food. And when you digest food, it turns into waste. And then you do that elimination process. So just reiterating what you said, that yes, you can do body therapy, working, breathing, but supplements work well too.
So then gut inflammation. Inflammation is actually the number one thing or aspect that all chronic diseases have. They all have an inflammation factor. So if we can figure out our inflammation, if we can bring that down, we can help a lot of symptoms. Leaky gut syndrome, heart disease has inflammation factor, asthma, diabetes, endometriosis, pain, cancer, autoimmune. That's like the number one factor. So if we can, inflammation is such a huge thing that we need to pay attention to. So what causes inflammation? Environmental toxins. This is huge because we go everywhere and we feel like we can trust the things that we're breathing or exposed to, and it can be bad. A year or two ago, there was a new soap shop that opened up, and I was really excited to go in, and I went in, and the smell was so powering, I got a migraine within 5 minutes of being there because of all the
fragrances.
The fragrance.
Fragrances are not the same thing as like essential oils. Fragrances are unregulated and they are most likely causing a lot of the symptoms people experience when, like you said, migraines and all these other skin issues and so.
Pesticides, that's an easy environmental toxins. Poor sleep can cause inflammation, so we should all try to be getting a good night's sleep because that can help decrease inflammation. Acute stress, obviously, chronic stress, that constant release of cortisol. So if our cortisol is constantly high, then we're not, our body's compensating somehow because we're constantly trying to outrun that tiger and we're not just relaxing. Leaky gut syndrome, blood sugar imbalance, and then eating inflammatory foods. So the anti-inflammatory diet is also a popular diet that you might have heard about. And there are foods that can increase inflammation in our bodies. And a lot of that is high sugar, high processed, breads, dairy. So eating lots of vegetables, eating lots of good protein, eating whole grains, that can really decrease the inflammation in our body.
Yep. And I always like to remind people, try to stick to organic foods if you can to avoid extra stress on the body, because who knows what they have on them. You know, always wash your fruits and veggies if you can, but doing organic is best.
I was at Pick and Save the other day, grocery shopping, and I was by the apple section, and the person, young high school kid, not blaming him, but he was stocking all the apples, and many of them fell on the ground, and then he picked them up and put them back. And I thought, you know, he's probably 14, 15 years old, he's just doing his job. But then I was thinking, I wonder how many people are going to take those, pick that apple up and take it home and just eat it.
Yeah, and
Because
not wash it.
We think apples, we think what we buy from the store is clean and safe and healthy, and I mean, it's not the store's fault either, but we have to take some responsibility too and just make sure you wash your vegetables.
And water alone doesn't get all the wax and pesticides off, so you want to use vinegar, lemon, baking soda. There's some sprays that work very wonderful. So, all right, and then the last thing, parasites, which I think we kind of segue into. Yep, we do. So some other things that cause extra stress in the gut, pathogens and toxins. So just a reminder, like we mentioned earlier, if you are more alkaline in your diet, you will be more prone to making all those parasites happy. They'll be able to live in your body even longer.
And before everybody stresses out, 70% of US adults have parasites.
Yep, we are exposed to them all day long. We can get them from food, touching a doorknob, breathing. It all comes down to, can our body get rid of them every day? Can the gut get rid of them every day? Because we do have them. So some ways or reasons we are going to have more of those critters in our system: poor diet, poor quality of water. So a lot of people don't realize that city tap water is loaded with a lot of stuff we really don't want in our body. Estrogen, believe it or not, a hormone, pharmaceuticals, a lot of toxins and chemicals like fluoride. Yes, we don't want too much fluoride in our body. So that list could go on and on. High stress levels, which we talked about, that it'll make you more prone to those critters. And we're just going to create an environment that is very suitable for those critters to survive. They love inflammation. They do love acidity as well. They love stress. So all the more reason to try to manage your stress. So how can we keep a healthy immune system to get that gut healthy and not be able to, we don't want to keep those critters longer than we want to. So limiting the processed foods, like Leanne mentioned, and sugar as well. Pork is the one meat that has the most parasites. Drink filtered water, not bottled water either. We don't want that, or tap. And then exercise. So exercising is going to stimulate, right? Stimulate your lymphatic system. If your lymphatic system is kind of clogged, like think tonsils, we got a lot of lymph nodes in our armpits, all over, that's not going to empty out the trash, I call it, and pass it on to the liver to detox and get rid of our system. Where am I? Sleeping is great. Stress support, we talked about. Castor oil packs. I don't know, many of you probably are familiar with castor oil. You probably drank it way back to help stimulate the colon. You can do that, it's okay. But some people just do like a fabric and they put it on their abdomen area, and that stimulates all those digestive organs too. Fermented foods is great, like your kombucha and sauerkraut. kohlrabi, I'm trying to remember all the other
Kefir.
ones, but kefir, yes. Vegetables and fiber, and I'm going to talk about that funny looking filter here. So these are a lot of the detox organs. You can see some, I tried to get creative here and come up with
Bad
some
guys.
funny looking bugs. So your body is trying to get rid of these things, toxins, chemicals, and in order to get rid of it, it has to go through each level: cells, skin and tissues, lymphatic, liver, colon, and kidneys too. But if you're constipated, you're not pooping every day, this is like your clogged drain. Think of this as a sink drain, and it's not going anywhere. So all this stuff is trying to funnel out, and then it stops. And what's going to happen? It's going to backfill. You'll reabsorb, and you're not going to feel good. So all the more reason to really support all of that if you can. We do have a wonderful supplement that works very well and helps drain, supporting all those organs. Cleansing System, AM, PM. This is my go-to for people that come in and talk about all their symptoms. I'm like, okay, it's only $40. It's going to help all of that. A lot of people really like it. So that would be an easy solution if you're wondering.
This
What you can
funnel is a great visual. A lot of times people will try to detox and they feel worse when they start detoxing because their drain is clogged, because they're trying to take all of these things in to help detox their body, but they haven't opened up these drainage pathways, we call it, so everything's getting stuck inside. So they might be taking, we have some great herbal and binder products, they might be taking a binder product, but if they're not pooping and if their colon's still clogged, they're gonna feel worse. And it's called a Herx reaction, and sometimes they can be pretty severe. We don't ever want people to just run into a detox blindly, because if your body's not prepared, you're gonna have some of those symptoms. So
You won't be happy with us.
and you won't feel good. So antibiotics. Antibiotics are sometimes a necessity. The thing about antibiotics is that they kill the good and the bad. So within the past year, my 14-year-old was on antibiotics 3 different times. And she was my strong one. I always called her my horse. I don't know if horses are super healthy, but like the whole house could be sick and she wouldn't get sick. But since she's been on these antibiotics, she has gotten every single thing that has come around. Every cold, every flu. She's missed more school than she ever had. Because her gut was so messed up from all those antibiotics. So now we're restoring her gut microbiome and getting this more good bacteria back in there. So if you have antibiotics, if you have to take them, just make sure that you also are fixing your gut, because you can have some pretty serious consequences after that.
So where do I mention that? If you do have to, like Leanne said, if you do have to do that, we do recommend taking a probiotic as well. Not at the same exact time as your antibiotic, because that will defeat the purpose. But if you have to take an antibiotic in the morning and at night, take your probiotic right in the middle of those 2 times. But this slide just kind of talks about a antibiotic candida cycle, I call it. I think I made that up. But what can happen, and we see this a lot, people come in, they take antibiotics for a yeast infection or a UTI or something else, and then they developed a UTI or a yeast infection. And so now they have to take another antibiotic to get rid of the yeast infection, and then it's just this cycle over and over. So there is a way to help that differently, but we like to put that information out there because you might know someone that is experiencing this right now. But what is candida? It's a yeast, it coexists, it's there, but what can cause it to overgrow, like we mentioned, antibiotics, high stress, sugar, like people with a sweet tooth, fluoride, drinking water, alcohol, cigarettes, silver fillings, antacids, your Tums, birth control, and then you can't have too much good bacteria in your gut. We know a lot of people that take tons and tons of probiotics, which we need to take, but they also eat tons and tons of probiotic-rich foods. So we we need to have that good balance. We don't want too much good bacteria or too much bad bacteria.
So if they are eating lots of kefir and sauerkraut and yogurt and taking heavy doses of probiotics, their body doesn't need that much. So then they're stressing their body out because they're getting too much, and then they're getting candida. So the only caveat to eating fermented foods would be if you're very susceptible to candida, because we don't want more growth. We don't want to feed the yeast.
Yep. Leaky gut. So many of you may have heard of leaky gut. Just picture little tiny holes in your small intestine and all this bad stuff coming in and all the good stuff potentially escaping, which we don't want to happen. So some of the triggers are listed there at the top. What can cause leaky gut? The stress, overexposure to toxins, or you can't detox well. More pathogens, food particles that are not getting digested properly. Your pharmaceutical drugs can increase that chance, and then infections can really break down that barrier. So we really want to support that gut lining, and we do have a lot of great products that do that. One of the popular products is called L-glutamine. A lot of athletes take it to help repair muscles, but it works wonders, healing the gut and repairing that and restoring that. One thing I don't think I have, no, I don't have it listed here, but what's that doctor's name? He's popular. Dr. Gundry talks about leaky gut a lot, I've been noticing. And so far, I agree with everything he says. Many people do eat tons of almonds, and almonds have something called lectins. And lectins are one of the things that poke little holes in your intestines if you don't have enough probiotics. So there's another documentary which I recommend everybody to watch called Blue Zone. What's it called? Live to 100 years old, something about Blue Zone. I think it's on Netflix, but this guy travels and finds all these groups of people, and he saw this one group eats tons of lectins, a certain food, and he's like, how come you guys aren't sick? You're like 100 years old. Well, here they eat tons of tofu, probiotics, because they're making sure it's a balanced diet. So it's not like lectins are completely bad. You just have to make sure you get enough probiotics in there too. Tomatoes, wheat. Yep.
Wheat.
Yep. Think about your breads, your wheat bread that has lectin.
Sometimes we think that we're eating healthy because we're eating a lot of tomatoes, but then we're having symptoms like this. So if you think you're eating all the right foods, but you're still having GI issues, then I would just do an elimination for a couple weeks. Just take out the tomatoes or take out the
Wheat, almonds.
almonds.
Mhm.
That's just to kind of see if those symptoms go away or how that affects your body.
Yep. I'll let you do this one.
So a gut reset. So if we're having issues, what can we do to help? So this is more of our implementation. So remove the inflammation, reduce the toxins if we can, reduce the stress, try to get rid of our infections, and then look at our refined grains, our processed gluten, our commercialized dairy, added sugars, and synthetic food additives. So gluten is a whole nother issue that could be a whole nother presentation. Refined grains have a lot of gluten and are not healthy because they're also very processed. Grains also have something called gliadin in them, which is very similar to our thyroid hormone. So if we have a lot of processed foods or we have a lot of gluten and our body can't handle it and metabolize it, then we're going to have other symptoms, not just GI symptoms, but we could have also thyroid issues. Now, we would know if we have that, we could do an elimination and see if we feel better. There's also a genetic test that Lindley and I both did recently, and I don't have it at all. So I can eat as much gluten as I want, and it's not going to affect me. Lindley, on the other hand,
I have a whole,
She's a mutant.
yeah.
She has a high risk for celiac disease, so she's going to stay away from these refined grains. If she's going to eat bread, it's going to be sourdough, it's going to be really good whole grain rich foods, things like that. So it was actually, I'm concrete, so I like to see things. And when people say, oh, I think I have celiac, well, I've never had those issues. So I'm like, well, is that really a disease? So it was a good learning lesson for me to say, yeah, like genes play a role in it. You probably do have symptoms. I don't have those symptoms, but you do, and it's very real to you. So removing those factors can help decrease the inflammation, because that's also going to increase inflammation and cause a lot of issues. Incorporate relaxing and stress management issues. Yoga or stretching is a great tool, again, for that lymphatic system as well. Exercise. The only caveat I would say to exercise is if you're in that high stress, high cortisol state, and you do high intensity exercises, it's only going to make you feel worse. So when I was in a time of super high stress, I couldn't go run like I like to do. I had to just do very calming yoga or go for a nice walk. When I tried to do my super high stress exercises that got my heart rate up, or my HIIT high intensity exercises, it just made me feel worse. So do a nice exercise that is good for you for what's going on in your life. Sleep, again, CBD, it's an anti-inflammatory. Magnesium is amazing. Magnesium is also great because it relaxes your smooth muscle. So people who come in and who say, I'm constipated and I just want to take a supplement, magnesium, taking that at night before you go to bed, often will result in a nice BM the next day.
There are several kinds of magnesium though.
Yeah, magnesium citrate is a good one. That's specifically for bowel movements. Glycinate is also a nice one. That's going to be more that muscle relaxing, calming. But some people, the magnesium citrate is okay, but sometimes it can be too strong and cause more cramping.
And
So you
luckily,
gotta kind of find which one works best for you.
luckily the citrate and the glycinate are the most readily available and the least expensive. So there's some more like threonate, which is really good for anxiety, but it's kind of expensive. So
You have like a magnesium salve too, right?
yep, that's also really nice.
Yep.
L-theanine, like Lindley talked about before. Other supplements, everybody's different. Everybody has different biochemical individuality, so what works for you might not work for me. So finding the right tools that can help you works really well. Organic whole foods, so then talk about that diet again. So whole foods with the anti-inflammatory diets like bone broth, raw cultured dairy, fermented vegetables, sprouted seeds, omega-3s. Microgreens or sprouted seeds are amazing. They have a product in them called sulforaphane, and sulforaphane is an excellent anti-inflammatory. It's really hard to find sulforaphane in a supplement. So eating sprouts or microgreens is just a really great option to get some of that anti-inflammatory properties through your diet.
And we just got a fresh batch delivered to the store today.
And I like eat them just plain, or you can put them in your eggs, you can put them on toast or sandwiches, everything. So then helping our digestive system specifically. Digestive enzymes, so that's a supplement that's going to stimulate your pancreas to create that amylase or lipase, or the digestive enzymes to shoot into your stomach to help break down your food. Really great also for acid reflux and heartburn. Bitters are also a great option. Bitters are bitter. You just put them in your mouth, or eating bitter rich foods like lemons, soaking on a lemon peel will actually stimulate your pancreas to make those digestive enzymes. So funny story, Jackie's 13-year-old was at my house, and she digestive enzymes work really well for her. So she goes, Leanne, do you have any digestive enzymes? I'm like, no, but I have bitters. You should take bitters. And she's like, no. So I gave her a little drop, and she's like, I'm not taking that. So just whatever will work easy for you to take.
Yeah.
Digestive enzymes are a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah.
Probiotics, prebiotics, we're going to talk about that in the next slide. Turmeric is another great anti-inflammatory. L-glutamine, that's what Lindley was talking about. L-glutamine's another anti-inflammatory and really good for help gut lining. So my daughter with the antibiotics, she was on L-glutamine for a couple months just to help repair that.
I think that's pretty much it. And yeah, before we go into the next slide, this is just saying, you know, if you're like wanting more information on a certain topic, we have tons of education handouts we can give you.
So a lot of times people will come in and say, I have constipation or diarrhea, or I only poop once a month or once a week. Once a month would be a lot more digging in there.
Yeah.
We can give, like you could take Miralax if you want. Miralax is not a great long-term supplement. There's a lot of better, healthier options. But you can take something just situationally. But if we're not looking at other factors in your body, it's only going to come back. So we just really like to ask questions and get to the root cause. And a lot of times, like stress or toxins or things like that, like we want to make sure that you're doing whole body care to your best health so that you're not just having one or two
Or
symptoms.
you'll find that you just have to keep taking a supplement long term,
Yeah.
which you may not want to do.
I was just actually listening to a podcast from a traditional Western medicine, which I'm not bashing at all, but she was talking about what a challenge it is to treat her patients because she has 15 minutes and she can only treat 1 or 2 symptoms at a time. And I thought, how sad that this is our healthcare today, that we can't treat the whole person, but her hands are tied. She only has 15 minutes with the patient. So that's where we kind of get into the thinking, I'm going to take this one pill for this one symptom and this pill for this symptom because that's what we've created. So as far as the gut, just think about lots of these other factors because a lot of times looking at other things can help our gut.
Yep. And last page, probiotics and prebiotics. I should reverse that, but prebiotics are going to be more high in fiber. They're food, so they feed your probiotics. If you are taking probiotics and you're like, I don't know if they're working, maybe you need to add some prebiotics to make them more effective. Probiotics are then they're that good bacteria, your normal microflora in your gut and body. So the other thing I don't have in here, which I need to update this slide, is postbiotics. So think prebiotics feed your probiotics. Probiotics produce postbiotics. Postbiotics do a lot of healing and repairing. So we do have some products that are just biotics, which is like butyrate, and I can't think of the other one that it's called, but some people just need more healing going on. We do always say try and get all your good stuff from your food rather than pills, so we like, showing you where can you find prebiotics in food, where can you find probiotics. I recommend not getting too carried away with soybeans because they are highly processed and can mess with estrogen levels. So I tend to not really promote that as much unless you're getting your hormones checked and whatnot. So the benefits of pro and pre and postbiotics, you're really going to help your overall gut health. Therefore, you're going to help your overall health all over and immune system. You'll decrease antibiotic resistance as well. That's really important because we find a lot of antibiotics even in our food still. It can help with your gut health and your brain health because your gut and your brain are connected, like Leanne was saying, with your vagus nerve.
And if we think about things, sometimes not all mental illness, this is definitely not generalized, but sometimes our mental health issues like anxiety or stress are an inflammation factor. So if we are lowering our inflammation and if we're decreasing our toxins and if we're pooping, that can help support our mental health as well.
As Leanne mentioned earlier, your skin reflects your gut health, so taking probiotics will heal the gut, therefore may even positively influence your skin health.
We've had a lot of people who have struggled with acne who have come because they want help. And a lot of times when we fix the gut, then their acne clears up.
It can also provide allergy protection. Usually allergies are very common, and it's typically because either, it's the gut. Food isn't getting digested properly, and then your immune system is flagged, your antibodies go out to go try and find all these undigested food particles, but gut health, it's all gut health. We do recommend, I think we brought our 35 billion supplement there. That's a really popular one. Not everybody needs a super high.
So this is a 35 billion, and we also have 100 billion. So that's a big range, and my 14-year-old is on the 100 billion. So most, I would say, would be 35 would be good enough, but if there's issues, that would require you to have the higher one. That's when you would take it.
Yep.
Interesting here, sometimes probiotics need to be refrigerated. A lot of companies now are coming out with them that don't need to be, because for me, when I put it in the fridge, I forget about it, and then when I clean the fridge in 6 months, I'm like, oh, that's right, I bought a probiotic. So just if you buy one, just take a look at the bottle. Most don't, but there still are a few out there that need to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
What would be a post, now you said, talked about post, and it seems interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of foods would fall into the post?
I don't, I haven't seen a lot of food with that. I would have to research, but from what I understand, since a probiotic is producing the post, there may not be a ton of food
Okay.
with those in.
All right.
I have somebody that I know that eats a cup of sauerkraut every single day, and that is incorporating everything.
Yeah.
Like, you eat a cup of sauerkraut, that's pretty good. But she said it keeps her regular. She's never felt better. She's doing it for years. So that works well for her body. So just finding the foods that make you feel good and keep you regular.
Dark chocolate. As long as
Yeah,
it's dark.
It says bitter chocolate, but dark chocolate is on there. And then for the yogurts, yogurt is a great probiotic. However, most yogurts nowadays have a ton of sugar in them. So if you're using yogurt as your probiotic source, I just recommend that you look at the label to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of sugar, because otherwise we're kind of contradicting what we're doing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, they come in and they're like, well, I do the zero sugar, or there's so many new products out there these days. I just say, you know what, be safe, avoid it, just do plain, add a little bit of natural local honey with some fruit, and that's the best, safest option. Because who knows what they're using to sweeten it and what other additives.
And once you start looking at food labels, it's amazing how much is in the products.
Yeah.
I was even eating these protein bars, and I'm like, oh, this is probably super healthy. It says it's 18 grams of protein. And I looked at the label, and it has like 25 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
I'm like, just in this little protein bar. I mean, it was really good. Tasted really good. But, and another thing, when you're starting to implement changes, it can be overwhelming. There's things that Lindley does that I can't do.
Because I have to.
Because she has to. She's like super healthy, and there's something called like crunchy competitiveness. Crunchy is like a term for being super healthy. And I just never want people to feel like they're not doing a good enough job because they're not eating a cup of sauerkraut every day. Everybody just has to work with where they are and get to the next step. There's things that, like I said, that Lindley does that I don't do yet. There's things that Jackie does that we don't do. Everybody just has to start where they are, and maybe even just starting to read food labels is where you are. Maybe the next couple weeks you just look at your food labels. Even if you still eat it, just look at it and just see what's in there.
Next time you won't want to eat it.
Yeah. And then you can build from there.
Yeah, baby steps is key. So that's the end of the PowerPoint there. I'm sure You guys are overwhelmed and trying to absorb all the information. Go ahead.
On that one slide, it talked about detox during a full moon.
Yeah, yep. So with a full moon, the bright moon comes out, our melatonin naturally decreases, so that helps us sleep. Our serotonin increases, so now it's hard to fall asleep. The reason we say if you're gonna, go after parasites when your body's ready to do it over a full moon, because with that chemical change, parasites become more active and hatch. So that's a great time to go after them. So many people, like working in healthcare, they're like, oh, it's a full moon, all the crazy people are coming out. It's not, it's really the parasites.
It's true.
Blame it on the parasites.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I'm sort of like you.
Uh-huh.
I have to eat right. I'm being older, I'm having trouble getting enough protein though.
Sure.
And I'm trying to increase protein,
Mm-hmm.
but then you read, is shrimp good for you? Well, it's really hard.
Yeah, I find that doing like a protein powder, we do sell, oh, we should have brought one. We sell good quality protein powders.
Is it whey or is it
Plant.
plant?
Plant
And
protein.
Is it mostly peas?
I'll have to look, but I believe it may be.
Yeah, but we are coming out with a whey
Yeah.
in a couple weeks.
I can't do whey, but I could, and peas have lectin, so
Yeah,
where do you go for protein?
Right.
That's-
So taking extra probiotics, if you're gonna increase your lectin, increase that probiotic just to balance it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're like, I really wanna dig into that, and you can contact us to do like a consult, and we can sit down together to figure out what the best plan is for you. Yeah.
because that's the challenge, because proteins are great and they keep us feeling fuller longer. But when you have food sensitivities, then it's like you were saying at the beginning, well, what am I supposed to eat? Now you
Yeah.
have to worry about all the pH of everything.
Any other questions?
Yeah, with the pH strips,
Yep.
should you be using those on an empty stomach?
So there's,
Before you put anything in?
right, so there is a certain time to test your pH level. Typically, it's like before you eat, after. If you stop by the store, you can ask for our pH education handout. And the first page explains what it is, when to collect everything, symptoms. And then the second page, I attach a chart so you can write down and track it for like however long you want to track it for.
Do we have that electronically?
We can.
Because you could always
We can
email.
email you too, yeah, if you don't want to stop by. And if you like I said, we do sell those little pH test strips at our store, but you could even pick them up at like, I'm sure
Yeah, I already
Walgreens or.
have some.
Oh, perfect.
Good.
I'm sure
They've been
Amazon
sitting on
too.
the shelf a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you'll know how to use them.
And why you can use
And
them.
why to use them, yeah.
That's nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and if you have any questions, you know how to find us.
If anybody has any questions, or if you want the handout emailed to you, you can email us at
Yeah.
support@pinehillfarm.co. Just CO.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thanks for coming.